Hi, in this episode of the ADU series, I'm going to give you a complete cost breakdown of everything I spent to build an 800 square feet ADU in Northern California. If you haven't already watched my ADU walkthrough tour video, I would recommend watching that before this video, and I'll link that in the description below. In addition to having made a YouTube series about my construction progress, I have diligently recorded every single penny I spent on this project. So this is going to be one of the most accurate, candid cost breakdown videos. I'm going to tell you everything, including what I spent the most on, where I wasted the most money, where I got the most value out of my money, and what expenses you should cut and what you probably cannot cut. And starting with the overview here, and somewhat surprisingly, labor was the biggest cost, including if you add up the cost it took to hire a contractor plus additional labor, ends up being 67%, so a little bit over 2/3 of the total cost. And that is considering that I spent a lot of materials, and I actually hired the second cheapest contractor out of the almost 20 or so that I interviewed. So yeah, even with that skew, labor ends up being a huge expense. And I'm gonna go through the expenses one by one in chronological order. So starting with the architect, which is the first thing I spent on, ended up spending $8,000. In Northern California, you can get an architect for around $100 to $150 a square feet. So architect is one of the expenses I would not recommend you cut on. In fact, you can spend even more on hiring a good architect that knows your city well, and that can push your project through the permit process quickly, because the opportunity cost of construction is honestly quite high compared to what the architect costs. And I know it's $8,000, but in the grand scheme of the project, 2.5%. If faster you get your project done, the quicker you can, say, rent out your ADU, or you can live in it yourself and stop paying rent elsewhere. So opportunity cost, based compared to what you save, is quite high. Another fixed cost here is the city fee of obtaining a permit. And again, this is a non-negotiable cost, really. You really can't not get a permit for such a big construction project. And even if you could, you would want to, because getting a permit means that your ADU, the extra square footage of your ADU is added to the county records of your property. So if you were to sell the house, now it becomes official recorded square footage. And depending on where you live, this is going to be worth a lot compared to the $5,000 or so that you would spend on it. So absolutely a must in fixed cost. The next expense we're going to look at is going to be the cost of hiring a contractor. And that's easily going to be the biggest part of any project. For us, it's 54% of our budget. And what a contractor bid includes is going to be labor and raw material. And raw material, in case you didn't know, is going to be all the material that goes into a house that you cannot see. For example, the concrete inside the foundation, the wood inside framing, the cables and wires that go in the wall, etc. So for a contractor bid, they usually come in installments. You pay them whenever they complete a task, say pass foundation inspection, pass framing inspection, etc. So what you want to beware when hiring a contractor is you want to budget, I would say an extra $50 a square foot for change orders, which are, say, if you decided that you wanted to change something in the house, move a window, move a floor plan, etc., or just for unforeseen things. So for example, if there's a crack in your foundation, your sewage line isn't big enough, things like that weren't included in the original scope of work, in that original plan your architect drew, that might come up. So for additional labor, these things are either luxuries that my contractor did not include in their scope of work, or things that I either did myself or contracted out to third-party contractors. So for example, solar panels or HVAC, which is air conditioning, these things, not in my contractor's expertise. I had to hire a third-party company. Something else like an accent wall actually here is something I really got value for. Accent wall is like wood slats that are nailed to the wall that kind of serve as a backdrop for the TV. I asked my contractor for a change order on this. They quoted me $8,000. I thought that was a bit steep. I ended up going on Facebook, hiring two Mexican guys to go to Home Depot with me to buy some tools and materials, and ended up doing it ourselves. So a lot of these additional labor things, like the custom closet, I did a lot of the woodwork myself. Things that I probably saved the most on. What I did not end up saving on, though, were the finished materials. And I have them sorted here from price high to low, and I'll go through the bigger ticket items one by one, and I'll tell you what they normally cost, so you can be the judge of whether or not I was financially responsible with some of these. So first of all, kitchen cabinets, $14K. A regular set of cabinets, kitchen my size, you could probably get around $8 to $9K. So definitely a splurge. Reason being, they are custom cabinets. You get assigned a designer. They design it exactly according to your kitchen size. Very expensive regardless. Second highest expense was flooring, which I was pretty surprised by how much it cost actually. Reason being, it is engineered flooring, so it is a layer of hardwood on top. They go for around $7.5 a square foot. The cheapest flooring you could get, say vinyl or laminate, probably get around $2 a square feet. So pretty big difference. I also actually ended up gluing my floors down because I didn't want to nail them down and have them squeak. And that was also a surprising expense, $1,700 for just glue alone. Windows, I got 9 windows and a sliding door. $4,000 I'd say is pretty standard for the windows, and yeah, no way to get around that. Kitchen countertop. For a kitchen my size, I did use more countertops than usual. Reason being, I had an island with the waterfall edges on the side, and I also used it for the kitchen backsplash as well, so it would run the countertop up. Ended up using 4 slabs of quartz, so quartz is pretty reasonable material. So yeah, ended up using a lot of this material. That's why it's expensive. Speakers, definitely a luxury, definitely a splurge. Bought 3 sets of Sonos in-ceiling / in-wall speakers and 2 amps to go with it. Thought it would be nice to take advantage of while the walls were open to build the speakers into the house, but definitely not necessary for a regular ADU. Paint and stain, $3,000. Ended up using some of the best paint, Benjamin Moore Aura, which is around $90 a gallon. Normal paint goes around $50-ish a gallon. Although I do think paint is one of the most ubiquitous things in the house, covers the most surface area. You'd be surprised at how much paint you need to use. You need to use it on the walls, the ceilings, the exterior, basically everywhere. So it is something you're looking at the most. So I would recommend actually to go with a higher grade paint. Siding, used fiberboard siding instead of wood, which is more expensive, but for sake of durability, I'd say reasonable price and reasonable spend. Front door, terrible decision. Normal front door goes for around $700-800. I spent $3,000. Reason being, I got a commercial grade front door. It's like a really big metal / fiberglass. Really fancy. It's got this bar with the electronic open, so instead of pulling a lever, you press a button to push it. Really unnecessary for an ADU, but huge splurge. For appliances like the fridge, the microwave oven, cooktop, these are all pretty big splurges, I would say. Induction cooktop instead of electric cooktop, so that costs say $2,000 versus $1,000 normally. A microwave oven, which is like one of those drawers that are built into the cabinets, look very nice, but it's $2,000 versus you probably get a microwave for $200. So yeah, these are appliances, but these appliances are also very big spends on my part. And some of the smaller items, they do really add up as well. Like say, like I don't know, like the doorknob, the cables, HDMI cable, like the bathroom fans, the cabinet hardwares, all of this. It's actually big ticket items aside. You see, the total is actually slightly under 90K. So the smaller ticket items ended up contributing to like I don't know, like 30K ish of the total as well. So time for the grand reveal of how much everything cost. Adding up the 90K of materials plus everything we had before, we get a grand total of $318,000. And you know what? I had a budget before of 300K, and that ended up coming slightly above budget, but I was pretty happy with how nice the ADU turned out. So I actually didn't think it was too bad. Let me know what you think in the comments below, though. And if you've watched until now, thank you very much. Really appreciate the support, and these videos take me a long time to make, so would really appreciate if you guys could like, comment, or subscribe. And thanks for watching.